Hello everyone and welcome to not a new video. So this is kind of a repeat posting where I want to do some commentary on my marathon experience in Enschede. So if you want just a video without me talking over it, it should be also on my channel. I'll also post a link in the description box. I just want to try some new things. I like documenting the marathons, but I also would like to kind of document my experience as well, because this was quite disappointing isn't the right word, but I'm not very satisfied, and I just want to talk just to get this out of my system. I'll just dive right into the marathon, but I will do kind of a training and thoughts recap at the end. So I was quite nervous for this marathon. I usually run a lot of the marathons alone, but I do appreciate my boyfriend coming out for them. It's always nice to have a bit of support. I planned kind of a small theme park trip around this weekend, so I was in a theme park the day before, and my most important thing that I wanted out of this marathon was to just feel good about running marathons, because Brussels was really discouraging, very demotivating, kind of a moment where I was questioning why I still am doing this, but luckily I was feeling great that weekend, so mentally my goal has been reached. So it would be around 17 degrees Celsius, which is quite warm, but it would be cloudy, and maybe as you can see in the video, it wasn't too sunny, luckily. It also rained in the morning, so the course was quite cool. It did feel a little humid, but I really felt it like in the first few kilometers, but I tried to just not think about that aspect, because that would just only make me feel worse. So throughout the race, it was pretty much cloudy. The sun would be warm, but luckily it wasn't that sunny. It was quite windy. I know that wind kind of affects your pace, but to be honest, I'm really not fast enough for that to matter in the bigger picture, and I do appreciate the wind, because just for some extra air, some extra breeze, it was appreciated, honestly. So I was in the last corral, and that pretty much made sense, because I already knew I wasn't gonna run sub 4 hours, so I kind of placed myself between the 4:15 and the 4:30 pacers. So the first 15k was pretty solid. I just hung around the pacers a bit and just settled in my own pace. I'm not sure how I feel about the half marathon starting at the same time, but honestly it wasn't all too busy, and after splitting around the 12-13 kilometer mark, that felt a little scary, because the crowd thinned out a lot. Crowd is solid, occasionally pretty views, and it just felt like any other city marathon. Just past the 50k mark in 1 hour 31, I believe. So I'm on 1 minute behind, 6-minute pace. I'm running in between two groups, but when I look back, I don't see the 4:30 pacers, but I do see the 4:15 pacers, which is really nice. I'm not gonna chase them until maybe like the last 10 kilometers, because I can tell I am pushing myself a little, and I really shouldn't. But overall, I'm definitely feeling much better than Marathon Brussels. My A goal would be 4:15. I'm not sure if I can reach that. Most realistic is PRing under 4:25, and C goal would be 4:30. As long as I'm in front of the pacers, it should be fine. So I could tell I was pushing a little hard, like I said in the video. So there was a water stop every 2.5 kilometers, which I didn't make use of in the first half or so. But I do really appreciate that, and I enjoyed extra banana and sports drink every 5 kilometers. So from 15 to 30 kilometers, I honestly, those are like the moment where you just lock in and just make sure you fly through those kilometers. So, and that's what I pretty much did. But I could tell I was getting tired halfway through. So I honestly don't really have a lot to say about this middle section of the marathon. So I might just cut out these parts and you can just go to the full video just to see me explore the course. So you do see like a 14-kilometer mark in the video, but I think that was for the half marathon, and I think I was like around 17 kilometers by then. Might as well talk about my splits. So I was kind of aiming for 6-minute kilometer pace, and I could tell I was not gonna complete this goal. I did the first 5k in 30:22, second 5k 30:34, next 5k was 30:54, next 5k was 31:12, and then each 5k I was just getting slower. I did a half marathon split in 2 hours 9 minutes 30 seconds, which is like a comfortable pace. Like I always see 2:10 as my comfortable half marathon pace, and I still hope to see this sub 2 hour half marathon this year. But my last proper attempt in March was 2 hours 1 minute 30 seconds. So really close yet so far, because I am feeling like I am trying my best. But as I said, my training didn't go well. I'll talk about it later. Alright, I just passed the 30 mark at 3:08 and I sense a wall coming in. My PR is in jeopardy. So as I predicted, in this last 12 kilometers, I was losing energy, and especially around 33 to 35, my right leg was just cramping so much. This was also a moment where I didn't really learn from my previous marathon lessons, because I knew these shorts that I was wearing were gonna shave, and they sure did, making myself suffering more, because on the inside of my leg it was just cramping. On the outside of my leg, my skin was just burning. So while in the first half or so I only walked through the 5-kilometer water stops, but now I would also make use of the 2.5 kilometer stops that only had water. I am miserable. My leg hurts so much. The wall has been hit. Going for a 5:1 run walk interval, but at the end of the 5 minutes my right leg just hurts so much. I feel like this is like the worst wall I've hit, because in Brussels I was just feeling miserable from 3 kilometers on, so the entire race would be at this level of pain and discomfort. While over here I was just very confident in the first half or so, and then I would just literally hit that wall. So I just tried to fuel as much as possible, still attempting to enjoy this race. And this time I could appreciate just like a calmer atmosphere in the city, because I really didn't have the energy to speed up anymore. Especially like in the last kilometer, I was just dragging myself. And like the last 500 meters, I just started just singing So Long London by Taylor Swift, because usually I run really hard to this song. So even though I was just in a lot of pain, I could just like kind of power myself through it by singing, especially because I felt like this long street at the end was just not ending. I kind of hate these inflatable arches, because they look like a finish line, but most of the times it's just like a sponsored thing, and like the actual finish is gonna be something different, sometimes even much smaller. So yeah, I was just powering through to get myself over the finish. And that was my marathon number 7.
Hi, gefeliciteerd.
So this is marathon number 7. I usually don't film on my phone, so I hope this footage works. So after the marathon, there was definitely like pride of being able to finish another marathon. It's definitely a marathon where I yet again learn that a marathon isn't easy, is not to be underestimated. I feel like after my first marathon being such a nice experience, I feel like every marathon after that has been just miserable, difficult, hard to train for, but I'm very grateful for being able to do so. But I was definitely feeling a bit deflated. I think that's like the perfect word on how I feel. I think it was just mainly cramping. I don't think I've injured myself, but I've also haven't run yet. It's now Thursday after the marathon. I also didn't really have the marathon vibes in this city. Like, of course, there was a lot of supporters, which I'm also very happy about. But this felt like a typical marathon where I finished the marathon and it just feels like everything is just over. So if I look at the results, I can also see I was pretty much back of the pack. I'm not sure how I feel about that after 7 marathons, because I really wanted this spring to be my big moment of running either a big PR or just being trained well enough for even sub 4. I just know it takes so much more work for the sub 4. But even for 15:4:20, I would have already been so happy, but missed out on that. But this is also the reason why I already have like multiple marathons in the upcoming months, because I can't deal with the fact that this was my A race and I failed my A race and now I have to like simmer in like the post-marathon blues. But luckily I have multiple marathons coming up in this season, next season, so I'm not very worried about that. So I kind of wanted to talk about training, but honestly, I feel like there's not really much to be said. I started in Christmas week because that was the moment where I really was feeling motivated again to start for the new year. I was kind of hoping to do Marathon of Rotterdam, which is like the biggest one in the Netherlands, because I have a project for that marathon, but I kind of want to be in sub 4 hour marathon shape before I do that project. I'm kind of starting to feel this pressure to get myself to sub 4 hours. So I think it comes down to me feeling too confident about my running shape. My first marathon was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I feel like I've aged so much in these few years. Maybe that the 24-hour ultra has done a little bit of damage, but I'm kind of still in that denial phase. So before I started the marathon, I was feeling pretty confident and that I would at least get a PR. But now in hindsight, when I really started reflecting on my progress, I feel like it was just a marathon like any other. I start off pretty well, but then racing season starts. I always fall into the pattern of just doing one race per week and not doing any training on the weekdays. And that's just very unhealthy training. In the 18 weeks leading up to the marathon, I did 425 kilometers. So I have to still calculate this for my previous marathons. But the biggest confidence booster, maybe like false confidence, was me PRing my 30K run. I used to do it in 3 hours and 9 minutes, and I managed to do it in 3 hours 3 and 3 hours 5 minutes this season. So that made me feel very good about my progress. But then at the same time, I was trying to PR or at least go back into sub 2 hour half marathon shape, and I ran 2 hours 1 minute and 30 seconds, which was a little disappointing. And then I ran a 10K, which was like 30 seconds off my 10K PR. I was planning to run 55 minutes. I ended up running 52:38. So that was also like this confidence booster that in hindsight I feel like should have just been a good moment for my 10K shape, but not for my marathon shape. I kind of did a shortened version of Higden 3 because usually for marathons I like to pretend that I like running 4 or 5 times a week, but that's, especially with a full-time job, just a very hard thing to do, and I do have a lot of other time-consuming hobbies. So I found Higden 3, and that was kind of like a good thing to strive for. but yet I still can't do it. I do really hate feeling like this because I know the marathon should be taken seriously. I know, for example, a logical thing would be just to focus on the half marathon, but I just really love running marathons, no matter how hard it is. But like I said, I do start feeling the pressure to kind of perform better in the marathon. That is also something just I really personally want. I'm also having much more time this summer, so I kind of hope that next season is just gonna be a PR season, kind of getting back to my 2022 shape. I still don't understand how I did 425 in Eindhoven Marathon with like similar training. Marathon Eindhoven was also after spring with 2 marathons, so who knows, my next marathon will just be an unexpected PR. I don't expect them to, because I will consider them more as fun runs, because it's going to be much warmer in the next seasons, and I just expect my legs to just be tired still from this marathon. So my next marathon PR attempt would be in October for Marathon Urk, which is going to be 4 rounds of 10 kilometers. That's either going to be very helpful or just very mentally taxing, but I'm willing to try. So that was Marathon Enschede. I hope I said everything I wanted. My summary is just I'm feeling kind of deflated, so I just feel like just talking about it. But I feel like sometimes it's just hard to talk about a disappointing marathon result, because like I said, I'm grateful for being able to run marathons, and I hope to run so many more.